It's the whole dynamic is different now opposed to then, but it also brings in a question that I have for you is regarding your questioning, not you specifically, but the media in general. When McDermott first showed up, it was the same generic answers for about the first year and a half, and WGR 550 after the conference were like, well, you heard it here first, so there isn't a change and we're just going to move on. And they were actually like annoyed with it. So for you guys, is there any norms or customs or underlying rules for questions that you ask? And I'm sure it comes with like time in the industry and things, but is there like, come on, man, like you're the new reporter, you don't ask that kind of a question? Or, I mean, I'm sure you pick up what I'm trying to say, but.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. This is my philosophy on questioning, on asking a question in whatever setting. You're trying to elicit a response. If it's so, you're going to say duh, but it's the response is got to be something I think meaningful. Mm-hmm. So avoiding a yes/no question, how do you go about that? So you condition yourself. You ask more like how and what and why, right? But you don't. Do you think will get you almost nowhere?
Right.
Are you concerned? And asking a head coach of an NFL team or of almost any team if he's concerned about anything, he's concerned about everything. His life is one big concern. Right. And I want to say Sean said that at one point. Said that there's almost nothing on that. Head coaches are just different cats, man. Mm-hmm. They go to bed concerned. They wake up concerned. They look outside. That's a concern. They look at a snowdrift like I'm looking at now. There's something wrong with that snowdrift. That's how they think. That's how they're conditioned. Mm-hmm. So it's how you frame questions. Now, I'll give you an example since you brought this up. And I caught a bit, I wouldn't say the ire, but I definitely caught Sean about the only time I can remember since, and I knew Sean before he arrived here. I considered him someone with whom I could communicate at like the combine when he was actually going back to the Eagles, but especially when he was with Carolina, we'd spend time together. We just hit it off and talked football or talked life. Interesting guy. And when he got the job here, it was we as he was going about the process, we spoke. We were in touch, and I know his agent very well, Bob Lamont. But anyway, he after the Arizona game, after the Hail Murray play. Mm-hmm. There was a long gap before he was available, which is generally the case with Sean. He's usually the very last guy on these Zoom calls, and that's a whole nother thing. But anyway,
sure.
Sean obviously who wasn't just from the Bills, who wasn't in this bad place over that play? And I had a long time to ponder the question of this last play, this moment, because this is the game, this right? And we all basically knew, I say we, the three of us and anyone who's watching that game, what did we know that should have happened? Knock the ball down,
right.
Get the knockdown, right? And that should have been the design of what they were doing. And you could watch it a million times and you don't get that sense that everybody who was involved in that play, including Jordan coming in at the very last second, was really, that was more of a that way than the volleyball knockdown that we, knock it down, right?
Right.
Yep.
Chris Berman thing, Tom Jackson. Okay. So how am I going to get him to say, I wanted to say something other than, of course, or yeah, or whatever. Should they have knocked it down? Should they have? Because if you phrase it that way, that's what you're going to get.
Right.
If you get anything. And I was racking my brain. Okay. And Sean finally emerges, and there were very few hands up in the Zoom room when he, so yours truly puts that hand up there. Gonna get this. So I came up with my strategy. My strategy was there anything different that you wanted to see your team do in that situation?
I mean, that's a fair question for him.
Forcing something other than a yes/no.
Right. Yeah.
Well, he's raw. And that wound is wide open and bleeding, and it's like you might as well have been putting salt, vinegar, whatever you could imagine into that wound. But I went for it, thinking whatever. I at least get something better than yes or obvious. He started with, well, of course. Well, Vic, you've covered this game a long time. And I could see him getting hotter and hotter. I'm waiting for the words, and he says, you should be knocking the ball down. He said that.
Right.
He said that. Not some variation of that, but that's what he said. You want to knock the ball down. Boom, got it. That's all I wanted. I know he wasn't a happy camper. I think the week before, or 10 days or so before, he saw in my background, I had a little sign wishing my granddaughter, Emma, a happy birthday. And I think he noticed it on the Zoom. And he said, is Emma, is that your granddaughter? Can you tell her happy birthday? I mean, just a week before, he's wishing my granddaughter a happy birthday. Yeah. So that's jovial, Sean. After the Arizona game, not so jovial. Sean, like, it was fire breathing.